I refused to give my in-laws a key to our new home. They waited until I was at work and told my husband, "We'll make her leave one way or another." I came home to an empty house, furniture gone, locks changed. But I had the footage, and a lawyer who owed me a favor. I met Ray when I was 22. We were both students at a college in Charleston, South Carolina. He was charming, funny in a corny kind of way, and honestly, just easy. He didn't make things complicated. We moved fast. Started dating, moved in together, got married within 2 years. Everyone said it was too soon. Maybe they were right. His parents, though? From the start, they made it clear I was never their choice. His mom, Darlene, acted polite in public but didn't hide how she really felt when it was just us. She'd say stuff like, "You're very driven, aren't you?" Or, "You must keep poor Ray so busy with all that work of yours." She never said I was wrong for him. She just said enough little things to make me feel like I'd stolen something that belonged to her. His dad, Hal, barely spoke to me. He'd grunt, nod, or just ignore me entirely. He treated me like a guest who overstayed her welcome at Thanksgiving dinner, every day. Still, Ray didn't seem like them. Not at first. Last year, we finally bought a home in Greenville. It was a small 3-bedroom house, nothing fancy, but it was ours. We saved for it, we planned for it, and I thought it would bring us closer. I was wrong. The moment we closed on the house, Darlene started pushing for a key. "Just in case of emergency," she said. "You never know what could happen." I told Ray no. Firmly. "Your parents don't need a key to our house. If there's an emergency, they can call us." He got defensive. "They're just trying to be helpful. It's not a big deal." But to me, it was a big deal. I knew Darlene. She'd drop by at our apartment all the time before we moved. No heads up. Just showed up, walked in, criticized my decor, left passive-aggressive comments about how much I worked or why I didn't cook more. A house key? That was power. That was control. And I wasn't giving it to her. That's when things started to change. Ray became distant. It wasn't sudden, it was like watching a slow leak. He'd spend more time on his phone. I'd walk into a room and he'd put it down like I caught him cheating. Only, I don't think it was another woman. I think it was his mom. He started siding with her on everything. We'd argue about small stuff, like why she needed to know our travel plans or why I couldn't just be nicer to her. He said I was making things harder than they had to be. I told him, "She doesn't like me. She's trying to wedge herself between us. You don't see it, but I do." He just rolled his eyes. Then came the Thursday. I left for work early, like usual. I work at an accounting firm downtown, so I was gone by 7:30. That day, I had a client meeting that ran late. I didn't get a break until close to 4 p.m. When I finally sat down, I glanced at my phone and noticed something weird. Our Ring doorbell showed a black screen. No motion alerts. Just nothing since 10:07 a.m. I tried to reconnect it. Nothing. That's when I got this knot in my stomach. I don't know how to explain it. Just that something felt wrong. I texted Ray. "Hey, did you mess with the Ring? It's not working." No reply. I called. Straight to voicemail. I didn't panic yet. I figured maybe he was just busy. But when I pulled into the driveway around 5:15, my heart dropped. Everything looked off. The porch light was gone. Literally gone. Unscrewed. The wreath I'd hung on the front door was missing. I walked up, tried my key. It didn't work. The locks had been changed. I stood there, stunned. For maybe a full minute. Just staring at the door. I rang the bell out of habit, then remembered it was dead. I banged on the door. No answer. I called Ray again. Voicemail. I walked around back. The patio door was locked too. But one of the windows on the side, the one in the laundry room, was cracked open. I managed to pop it and crawl in, scraping my arm in the process. The second I stepped inside, I knew. Everything was gone. Not just my stuff. All of it. Furniture. Art. Kitchen supplies. My desk. My clothes. My laptop. My grandmother's quilt. Even the damn shower curtain was gone. It was like I'd been erased from the house. I stood in the middle of the empty living room, staring at a single lamp that wasn't even plugged in. That was it. One lamp. I called 911. The cops showed up maybe 20 minutes later. I told them everything. They were polite but said it sounded like a domestic issue. While they were there, a car pulled up. Maroon SUV. Darlene and Hal. They got out smiling like they were coming back from church. Darlene walked up holding a manila folder. She handed it to the officer. My son filed for separation. We're helping him move his things. She's not supposed to be here anymore. I snapped. That's a lie. I never got served anything. You can't just steal my furniture and change the locks. The officer looked stuck. Said if there was no restraining order or legal documentation showing I was removed from the home, I still had rights. But Darlene just kept smiling. We'll make her leave one way or another, she muttered under her breath. I heard it. The cop heard it too. He raised an eyebrow. But still, they couldn't do anything that night. They told me to get a lawyer. So I did. Now here's the part Darlene and Hal didn't know. The Ring doorbell was dead. Yes. But the garage camera wasn't. Neither was the little nanny cam I kept hidden behind the books on my office shelf. And there was a third one. An old pet cam I used to check on our dog when we both worked long hours. I never turned it off. I had footage. And I had Derek. Derek is an old friend from college. He's a lawyer now, good one. Helped me with a case years ago, and he always said if I ever needed something big, he owed me. I sent him the videos. You could see Ray unlocking the door, yes, with a key. You could see Darlene and Hal walking in with boxes, trash bags, moving bins. You could see them laughing. You could see Darlene taking my jewelry box. Hal loading my grandmother's cedar chest into the SUV. Ray sitting at the kitchen island eating Chick-fil-A like nothing was happening. They thought they won. But they made a mistake. After Derek saw the footage, he called me right away. They screwed up, he said. We're not just talking about a divorce now. This is theft. And trespassing. They had no legal authority to touch your stuff, let alone change the locks. We moved fast. Derek filed a motion to get a temporary restraining order. We wanted to keep them out of the property and stop them from selling or hiding any of my things. He also sent a cease and desist to Ray's parents and got a hearing date for emergency relief. That week, I stayed at Derek's spare apartment. I couldn't go home. Every time I thought about stepping back into that house, knowing they'd ransacked it, I felt sick. But I wasn't going to stay quiet. I started making a list. Every item that was missing. I went through old photos, credit card receipts, anything I could use to prove what belonged to me. Jewelry, electronics, my office chair, my framed diplomas, gone. Thousands of dollars worth. Some of it irreplaceable. Ray finally texted me 4 days after the break-in. Ray, I didn't want it to be like this. You made it impossible to talk. Me, you could have talked before changing the locks. Before letting your mommy steal my things. Ray, you left me no choice. You always acted like you were better than everyone. Better? I gave up weekends, holidays, even vacations to help pay off Ray's student loans. I paid more than half on the down payment for that house. I did our taxes, handled our bills, cooked 3 nights a week. But yeah, I guess I was too strong for his liking. Court came 2 weeks later. Ray showed up in a wrinkled suit and wouldn't look at me. Darlene wore some church lady floral outfit like this was a Sunday service. Hal just crossed his arms and scowled at the judge. We presented the footage. The judge paused the video twice. Asked Ray point blank, Did your wife consent to you removing her property from the home? Ray stammered. Tried to say we were in the middle of separating. But the judge wasn't having it. No legal paperwork was filed at the time of the incident. You had no right to change the locks. And your parents had no right to be inside that home without the co-owner's consent. We got the restraining order. Ray was ordered to give me a full inventory of all items removed and their current location within 48 hours. He sent it 30 hours later. But it was full of lies. He said my jewelry had been donated. He said the cedar chest was damaged and disposed of. He claimed my laptop was missing. I showed proof that I'd seen his mom wearing my necklace in a photo she posted to Facebook. Yup. She wore it to church the Sunday after they cleaned me out. I screenshotted it. Timestamped. Printed. That's when Derek got serious. We filed a civil theft claim against Darlene and Hal. And Ray too, since he let them do it. Derek also started pushing for a fraud claim, since Ray had listed false information on the separation documents he filed later on. And then came the twist. While all this was going on, Ray tried to sell the house behind my back. We caught it early, thanks to a friend of mine who works at a local title office. She saw the property listing and called me. He had signed a seller's agreement with a real estate agent and even had a buyer lined up. The listing described the house as sole ownership, said he was divorced and the house was his alone. We got the sale blocked immediately. More court. More filings. Ray tried to say I abandoned the house. But we had proof I was removed against my will, and that he'd changed the locks without legal grounds. Judge was furious. Said if he tried anything else, she'd hold him in contempt. At that point, I think Ray finally realized I wasn't going away quietly. But Darlene wasn't done yet. She sent me a letter. A handwritten letter. It said I was tearing apart her son's life, that I was a career-obsessed woman who never respected family, and that I should just take a check and leave the house to them. She included a check. For $5,000. I laughed so hard I almost cried. $5,000? For a house I paid half for? For the tens of thousands in personal property they stole or trashed? I sent the letter and the check straight to Derek. We used it in court to show continued harassment and bad faith. Then, one night about 3 months after it all started, Derek called me. You're not gonna like this, he said. Turns out, Ray was under review at his job. Someone had reported him for dishonest behavior. His company, an insurance firm, took that seriously. Civil theft charges, dishonesty in court filings, attempted real estate fraud? Not a good look. I didn't send anything. I didn't need to. But I wasn't sorry either. I started to get some of my stuff back. Slowly. Darlene returned a box of clothes and a few broken plates. No apology. Ray dropped off my desk and bookshelf in the middle of the night, left it on the lawn with a note that said, "Here." Happy? But the cedar chest? Never recovered. The jewelry? Still missing. The photos? Gone. And my dog? Ray kept him. That one hurt most. After Ray dropped my bookshelf off on the lawn like I was some Craigslist stranger, I knew I had to take this all away. They weren't sorry. None of them. Not him. Not Darlene. Not Hal. They didn't think I'd fight back. They thought I'd take a check, maybe move in with my sister, and disappear quietly like a ghost. They had no idea who I really was. A month later, while we were in the middle of mediation, another twist hit. I got a call from a local pawn shop. Apparently, some jewelry I'd reported as stolen had matched items flagged in a police bulletin that Derek had pushed through. It was my necklace, my earrings, and one of my watches. The pawn shop owner was the one who flagged it. Said the woman who dropped it off had used a fake name, but he remembered her clearly because she got weird when he asked for ID. He showed me security footage. It was Darlene. Wearing church pearls, standing there with my jewelry in her hand like she was selling old DVDs. We turned it over to the police. The pawn slip had her thumbprint on it. She was arrested for possession and sale of stolen property. Ray begged the judge to drop the civil charges against her, said she didn't know what she was doing. But the pawn shop owner testified she claimed the items were hers, not mine. She even said she got them as gifts from her late mother. Her mother's still alive, by the way. Still posts bingo wins on Facebook. This hit them harder than I expected. Hal tried to fight it. Filed a complaint about the police harassing his wife. But the truth was, Darlene thought she'd never get caught. That's the thing with people like her, they think consequences are for other people. They thought I'd fold. I didn't. Meanwhile, Ray was unraveling. After his company placed him on unpaid leave, he moved back in with his parents. He started posting vague quotes on Facebook about betrayal and strong women destroying homes. A mutual friend told me he even tried to start a GoFundMe for legal bills after false accusations. He raised $84. Then another twist came. Remember the dog? Ray had kept him after everything went down. Said I wasn't stable enough to care for a pet. That I didn't deserve him since I walked out. The truth is, I never got a chance to take him. Ray changed the locks and blocked me from the house before I could even pick up a leash. But Derek found something during the asset review process. The dog's adoption papers. Guess whose name was on them? Mine. I paid the adoption fee. I signed the vet records. I bought the food, the tags, the crate, the everything. So we filed for ownership. Ray fought it hard. Said I was using the dog to punish him. But the court didn't see it that way. 2 weeks later, I got a call from animal control to come pick up my dog. He was skinny. Not abused, just neglected. His nails were long, and his coat was rough. But the second he saw me, he went wild. Jumped all over me like I'd never left. It took everything not to cry right there in the parking lot. At this point, Darlene was facing real charges. Ray was facing more court dates. The judge called their behavior malicious and calculated. She hinted that if Ray didn't agree to settle, things would get worse for him in the next round. But the biggest twist was still coming. Because Derek found something buried in a file folder while sorting through the house paperwork. It was a document signed by Ray and Darlene before we bought the house. It was dated months before we even started closing. It said, in plain writing, that if Ray and I separated, Darlene would have legal right to assume full ownership of the property. Ray had signed it. So had Darlene. But I hadn't. It wasn't valid. It was never submitted. But it showed their intent. Long before I ever said no to giving her a key, they were already plotting how to push me out. This wasn't about the key. This was a plan. A long one. And that document? That was premeditation. Derek smiled when he saw it. They just gave us the whole case, he said. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a setup. And I knew then, they weren't just trying to hurt me. They wanted to erase me. They wanted to take my home, take my dog, my things, and leave me with nothing. But they forgot one thing. I don't scare easy. And I don't back down. Once Derek had that document, the one Ray and Darlene signed before we even bought the house, it was like we were holding a loaded cannon. Not just because it proved they planned this whole thing, but because of what we could do with it. Derek filed a formal motion for punitive damages. We claimed they had committed a premeditated conspiracy to remove me from the home, illegally transfer assets, and commit fraud through forged or misleading property agreements. The judge didn't just allow it, she scheduled a full evidentiary hearing. It became a bigger case than any of us thought it would. This wasn't just a messy divorce anymore. It became a case about deception, theft, and malicious intent. And everything they had tried to keep hidden started falling apart. Darlene's arrest went public. Someone at the courthouse leaked the story. A local paper ran a headline, "Mother-in-law arrested for theft in family property dispute." There was even a photo of her leaving the station, coat over her head like she was a damn celebrity. She tried to act like it was a misunderstanding. Hal made some noise about defamation. But it didn't work. People in their church started whispering. Darlene got asked not to lead Bible study anymore. Hal lost his seat on the neighborhood HOA. Ray's GoFundMe? Deleted. His boss called him again and said they were putting him on extended leave. A week later, Ray was let go. Officially for disruption and public conduct harming company reputation. He tried to sue them. It got laughed out of court. The day of final hearing, Ray showed up alone. No Darlene. No Hal. Just him, sweating, trying to act like the victim. He had a new lawyer, a cheap one. His original lawyer dropped him when the theft charges started rolling. I was calm. Steady. I had everything, proof, witnesses, even screenshots from Darlene's Facebook showing her wearing my jewelry and bragging about how God delivers justice. Yeah. That didn't age well. Derek laid it all out, the pre-planned takeover, the illegal lock change, the theft, the attempt to sell the house, the false separation paperwork, the harassment, and the attempt to erase me completely. Ray's defense? He claimed he was manipulated. Said Darlene was controlling. Said he was just trying to protect his family. That he didn't know what he was doing. The judge didn't buy it for a second. The ruling the judge awarded me, full ownership of the home. $34,000 in compensatory damages for stolen items. $75,000 in punitive damages for emotional distress, legal fees, and the intentional conspiracy. A permanent protective order against Darlene and Hal. Full custody of my dog. Ray was ordered to vacate immediately and pay me monthly until the damages were covered. If he missed a payment, interest would stack fast. He tried to argue he was broke. The judge said, "You should have thought about that before helping your mother steal from your wife." And then I made my move. I had the house. I had justice. But I wanted peace too. I put the house up for sale, not to run, but to rise. 3 months later, it sold for a $120,000 profit. I took that money, packed up my things, and moved to Asheville. Started fresh. But before I left, I did one last thing. There was this Facebook group Darlene ran for Christian wives in the South. I joined it years ago just to keep the peace. The day after the court ruling, I posted a photo of the final court judgment, blacked out my name, but left hers showing. Caption said, "When you think God's on your side but forget He sees everything." The group exploded. She got kicked out within an hour. Darlene pled guilty to a lesser charge to avoid jail. Community service. A public record of the theft. No more leadership roles in her social groups. Hal sold off his old car collection to help pay Ray's fines. Ray moved in with some cousin in Spartanburg. Tried dating again, but word got around fast. He messaged me 6 months later, asking if I'd consider rebuilding our friendship. I didn't reply. I got a job offer in Asheville making 15% more than what I earned before. I started hiking again. Adopted a second dog. Got my own place. Painted the walls the color I liked without anyone sighing about it. And I sleep easy every night knowing I didn't just win. I survived being erased, and then I erased them instead. They thought they could take everything from me. What they didn't understand was, I was never afraid to start over. And I had nothing to hide. Only they did.